Hey everyone, today we are reviewing Black Panther Wakanda Forever, which is the highly anticipated, long-awaited sequel to the original Black Panther, which released in 2018, if you can believe it. And this marks the first time that we've been able to return to Wakanda since Infinity War, which is absolutely insane. The number one thing that I take away from seeing Black Panther Wakanda Forever is how truly emotional it is. It is one thing to see a character that you have watched for years on screen, who you've grown to love, who you've seen struggle, who you've seen thrive, to see them experience loss. With the tragic real-life passing of Chadwick Boseman, there's definitely that weight in this movie. Now, what I think the filmmakers, the cast, the crew, everyone involved with the making of this film really focused on was not making this film feel heavy or weighed down with grief, but acknowledging that that is a process and a journey that people all have to handle and deal with in their own separate ways. This movie, multiple times throughout, reminds you of how the intense feelings and emotions of losing someone that you dearly, dearly love, how that affects you, how that impacts the way you see the world, what your outlook on life is. Of course, there's certain things in this film that have to be addressed with his real life passing, but knowing that it's not just a character that they're dealing with does really amplify that grief and that grieving process. And that's something that I think the film handles really beautifully. Ryan Coogler even said as much in a recent promo that I think released the day that I'm filming this review, where he said that the relationships and the tribute to our real life friend is what I hope that people walk away from this film with. I think if I'm being brutally honest, the film does struggle in the structure element. It's not really structured very well, in my opinion, or much at all. It's a lot of conversations and different actions, and yes, there's causation and there's things that happen, but a lot of it is a much more muddled decision-making process for our different characters in this film, not only because of course they're dealing with these heavy emotions of grief and this unprecedented threat from Takalan. I don't believe that I'm saying that correctly, but of course Namor's country. Not only is that the external unprecedented threat, but this unprecedented threat of without their king, their brother, their son, their friend. And while I like a lot of the individual elements of the film, I do feel at times that the runtime of the film, you feel the length of it. Now, what I really appreciated in this film and what is really amazing is that the world building of both Wakanda and Takalan, which is the underwater city that Namor is from, getting to understand their cultures, their backstories, why things operate the way they do, what their political structure is, all of these different things I found fascinating and beautiful to watch on screen. And I really love that element, and I really commend the entire development team behind this movie for really bringing those two worlds to life and making them feel lived in and old while still having the fantastical element that the Marvel Cinematic Universe always provides. I will say there was one costume choice that I was particularly disappointed with. It's more maybe funny than disappointed with, but I was just sort of like, y'all won the Oscar for the costumes the first round. What was this? Anyways, that's just a personal question I have for, I will come out with a spoiler review later about this film because I have a lot of thoughts about it. But the main thing I want to say is that while this film is a tribute, it does not beat the point home to the point where by the end of the movie you feel depressed, you feel a weight on you. I think by the end of this film, I very much felt this appreciation for the fact that Chadwick was able to play this character to begin with, and the fact that this legacy has been started for this character, that original film, for the creation of the world Wakanda on screen. All of that to me is such a beautiful thing, and by the end of the film I felt very peaceful and very hopeful, and I think that's where the story intends to leave you. Namor, I think, was a great villain. I really love a good villain in the MCU where you get a little bit more backstory, where you get an understanding of where the person is coming from, where potentially their motives might make some sort of sense to you, or you might understand where they're coming from. And I really enjoyed his character and the actor that played him, whose name I will put on the screen. But I personally really enjoyed that character and his interactions with a lot of the other Wakandan characters that we know and love. I do feel like in a lot of ways this film suffers from a kind of too many characters. There are a couple storylines, which again I will go into in a spoiler review later this week, that feel extremely unnecessary, and I don't believe that they naturally fit in this film, nor do I feel like the reasonings for them being in the film I don't really understand it. I don't. There's an opening sequence at the beginning of the film pretty early on that's probably my favorite in the entire film. I did really enjoy Riri Williams in this film. I cannot wait to see more of her. Again, we'll talk about that more later. One of the coolest parts of this movie for me was you can tell what language the characters are speaking by the color of the subtitles on screen. That was just such a beautiful touch, a way to non-diegetically separate different characters, different worlds, different perspectives. That added something to the story, and I really appreciated that. As far as music, for some reason, I can't tell if certain stuff I liked better than the first film, if it was just reminiscent of the first film, or there were a couple of choices that I didn't personally love. Again, I think there's just a little bit too much wiggle room in this film for the structure to get slightly unbalanced, for the runtime to get a little too long, and for some of these like additional elements like added music, added scenes that just feel a little heavy. And I'm not a mega fan of that. I also felt like there were a couple motifs that could have been brought home better. Overall, I really liked this movie. I liked being in this world. I liked being with these characters. It's beautiful to watch unfold on screen, this story, and it's beautiful to experience, and I was incredibly emotionally moved by this film. So please do not take any of these critiques as a don't go see it, it's not worth seeing. I think it's a somber film without being too heavy, and I think you leave the film with a very positive, hopeful message and a very positive outlook. I don't know that I want to say much more because I don't want to give it away. Please let me know in the comments if you are looking forward to Wakanda Forever, if you have seen it, what your thoughts are, and be sure to click these videos over here if you want to see more of me and my opinions on Marvel, entertainment, television, movies, all that jazz. Thank you so much for watching. Have a great day. I'll see you in the next one.